Good morning students, I am Shomajit sir. Today I am here to deliver my lecture on topic angiosperm and alternation of generation. So watch the entire video lecture to get basics out of it. So without any delay, let's start with the topic angiosperm and alternation of generation. So let's start. So let's start with the topic angiosperms. So angiosperms are the flowering plant, alright. So example Wolfia, you see Eucalyptus. So exceptionally large group of plant, they are exceptionally large group of plant and they range in sizes from tiny to almost microscopic, that is Wolfia, to all tall trees of Eucalyptus over 100 meters. So it extends from tiny to large, alright. Trees like a microscopic plant is Wolfia and trees like Eucalyptus, that is over 100 meters, and they're divided into two major classifications or two major classes. So these angiosperm are divided into two main classes. One is dicotyledonous or dicot plant, and this monocotyledonous is monocot plant. Alright, so dicotyledonous or dicot plant, monocotyledonous or monocot plant. So first we'll see the dicotyledonous plant. You can see the seeds, how they are forming a plant body. They have two dicot means they have two cotyledons in seed. They have reticulate venation in leaves, and they are pentamerous or tetramerous. They are tetramerous or pentamerous flowers. They have a tetramerous or pentamerous flower. Tetra means 4 petals, penta means 5 petals. 4 or 5 members in each floral hole. So you can see the flowers. You can see the figures below. 4 petals and 5 petals. 4 petals are tetramerous and 5 petals are pentamerous. Next you can see in monocots the seeds are given, the petals are given. So they have only, in monocots they have only one cotyledon. They have a parallel venation in leaf, and they are trimerous. That means 3 petals are there. Trimerous flowers are there, 3 members in each floral hole. Now you can see the reproduction in angiosperm. So flowers is the reproductive structure, and the male sex organs in a flower is the stamen. So stamen is the male sex organ. It can be, another name of stamen is androecium. Alright, so each stamen consists of anther and filament. So anthers are at the tip. So you can see the figure of the stamen or androecium on the right hand side below. You can see anthers are given and filament are given. Alright, so within the anthers, pollen mother cells divides by meiosis to produce microspores which matures into pollen grains. Alright, so within these anthers they have pollen grains. This is the male gamete. Alright, so you can see the left hand side below, the female. Alright, the female sex organ. So female sex organ in the flower is pistil, or it is also called carpel, or it is also called gynoecium. So it consists of a swollen ovary at the base, a long slender style and a stigma. So it consists of a stigma, style and ovary. Stigma is at the top, and style at the middle, and ovary at the bottom, the swollen part. So ovary contains numerous ovules. So an ovule has a megaspore mother cell that undergo meiosis to form 4 haploid megaspore. So out of the 4 haploid megaspore, 3 of them degenerate and 1 divides to form embryo sac. Alright, so you can see micropylarate, megaspore tetrads. Alright, next you can see the reproduction. So each embryo sac has 3 celled egg apparatus, that is 1 egg cell and 2 synergids. Then we have a 3 antipodal cells and 2 polar nuclei. Alright, the polar nuclei eventually fuse with the secondary nucleus, that is 2N. So you can see here, I have magnified, you can see the synergids, 2 synergids and egg. Then we can see the central cell of polar nuclei and bottom antipodal cells. So in this polar nuclei, the second male gamete come and fuse. Alright, so here you can see the life cycle are given. So pollen grains are dispersed from the anther and carried by the wind or other agencies to the stigma of the pistil, and it is called pollination. So what is pollination? Is transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of same plant or another plant. So if it is a same plant, it's called self-pollination, and if it is passed to different plant, it's called cross-pollination. So pollen grains germinate on stigma, and then resulting pollen tubes grow through the tissue of stigma and style and reach the ovule. So you can see, and there are different methods. There are different agents of pollination. It can be anemophily, it can be zoophily, it can be entomophily, it can be malacophily, it can be hydrophily. So you can see the life cycle, the gametophytic generation and the sporophytic generation. Gametophytic is N haploid, and sporophytic is 2N, that is diploid in nature. Alright, you can see the mycosporangium produces mycospore, then mycospore pollen grain, then male gametes and egg, both the gametes fuses, then egg, then zygote, then embryo, then entire sporovite is formed. Again, there is a formation of gynosium and androcium when plant gets matured, and then again pollination takes place. So the pollen tube enters the embryo sac where two male gametes are discharged. One male gamete fuses with the egg to form the egg. Alright, so one male gamete fuses with the egg to form a zygote, that is syngamy. Alright, so there are two male gametes, one male gamete fuses with the egg to form a zygote, this is called syngamy, and the other male gamete fuses with the diploid secondary nucleus to produce a triploid. This primary endosperm nucleus, right? PEN, primary endosperm nucleus. So this is from endosperm, primary endosperm nucleus. This endosperm you can see here. So again I repeat, out of the two male gamete, after the pollination, one male gamete fuses with the egg to form zygote, the syngamy, and the second male gamete fuses with the pollen nuclei that were diploid in nature. So 2N plus N is 3N, so they are triploid in nature and forms endosperm. Now you can see, because of the involvement of two fusions, this event is also called double fertilization, and it is an event unique to angiosperm. So this double fertilization event is present only in angiosperm and seen only in angiosperm. Here zygotes, later on zygote develops into an embryo with one or two cotyledon. So primary endosperm nucleus develop into endosperm. Alright, the primary endosperm nucleus develop into endosperm, which provides nourishment to developing embryo. So synergies and antipodal cell degenerate after fertilization. Alright, so the synergies and antipodal cells degenerates after fertilization. So during this event, ovules get modified into seeds and the ovaries get developed into fruits. The seeds are enclosed by fruit in angiosperms, whereas the seeds were naked in gymnosperm that I have discussed in the earlier videos. Now we'll see about the alternation of generation and plant life cycles. This is a very small topic. So in plant life cycles and alternation of generation means the sporophytic and gametophytic change. Alright, since we know that sporophyte are diploid in nature, that is 2N, and gametophyte are haploid in nature, that is N. So in plants, both haploid and diploid cells can divide by mitosis. Alright, and this form haploid and diploid plant bodies. So haploid plant bodies, gametophyte produces gamete by mitosis. Alright, so after fertilization, the zygote, alright, the after fertilization, the zygote also divides by mitosis to produce diploid plant body, that is sporophyte. This produces haploid spore by meiosis. So spores divide by mitosis to form haploid plant body. So thus, during the life cycle of any sexually reproducing plant, there is an alternation of generation between gametophyte and sporophyte. So gametophyte is N and sporophyte is 2N. This is called alternation of generation. You can see the pattern of life cycle, plant life cycle given. One is haplobindtic or haplointic. Alright. So first pattern, there are three patterns of plant life cycle. One is haplointic, next is diplointic, another is haplodiplointic. Haplointic is mostly entire part of the life cycle will be haploid, mostly 90%, and diplointic and mostly 90% of the life cycle will be diploid to N, and in haplodiploidic it will be 50-50. That means 50% will be haploid and 50% will be diploid. So let's see. So in haploidic life cycle, alright, you can see this type of life cycle we'll see in algae such as Volvox, Spirogyra, and some species of Chlamydomonas also. So in this, the sporophytic generation is represented only by zygote. You can see left hand side the figure is given. The sporophytic generation is represented only by zygote, that is 2N, and rest all is haploid. So zygote undergo meiosis to form haploid spore. They divide mitotically to form gametes, and the dominant photosynthetic phase is a free living gametophyte, right? So you can see out of the entire haploidic life cycle, mostly 95% of life cycle is haploid in nature, that is N, and only sporophytic generation is the zygote, right? So you can see zygote is sporophytic, then followed by meiosis, then spores are formed, then gametes are formed, then gametogenesis, and again syngamy is the union, fertilization, and again zygote are formed. So to a nutshell, haploidic life cycle, in haploidic life cycle, mostly 95% is haploid in nature and rest is diploid in nature. So in the sporophytic generation, that is diploid, zygote is only there, that is sporophytic, rest all is haploid in nature. So let's move to next slide. Diploidic life cycle, this is just a reverse of haploidic life cycle. Here 95% will be diploid in nature and 5% will be haploid in nature. So you can see these kinds of life cycle can be seen in an algal, fucus sp, all seeds bearing plants like gymnosperm and angiosperms. The gametophytic phase is few to multi-celled. So in this, the diploid sporophyte is the dominant, alright, the diploid sporophyte is the dominant photosynthetic and independent phase. So gametophytic phase is represented by a single to few celled haploid gametophyte, alright. So you can see entire most of the portions, like you can see after syngamy, first after syngamy you can see zygote is produced, then sporophyte is done, then gametosis, then gametogenesis, then meiosis. So only the gametes are haploid and rest all are diploid. So this is diploidic life cycle. Next we have haplodiploidic life cycle. Here 50-50, alright, 50% will be haploid, 50% will be diploid in nature. So this can be seen in bryophyte and pteridophyte. So it is the intermediate condition between haploidic and diploidic life cycle. Both gametophyte and sporophyte are multicellular and often free living, but they have a different dominant phase. So you can see here gametophyte, then gametogenesis, then syngamy, then zygote, then sporophyte, then meiosis, then spore. So you can see in haplodiploidic life cycle 50-50% are haploid and diploid, alright. So three patterns we have seen: haploidic, diploidic, and haplodiploidic. So if we come to evolutionary sequence, you can see in haploidic algae were there, in haplodiploidic bryophyte and pteridophyte in there, and diploidic gymnosperm and angiosperm are there. So this is all about the entire alternation of generation. Thank you student, this was all about the entire video lecture. Here I have discussed about the topic angiosperm and alternation of generation in different plant life cycle. So stay at home, stay safe. I am Shomajit sir signing off for today, and again we'll meet in the next class. Thank you students.